Today we are going to learn about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a former slave who helped free over 300 slaves and fought for equal rights for African Americans and women throughout her extraordinary life, and this is her story. Harriet Tubman was born in the 1820s. Harriet Tubman was born in the state of Maryland. You can see it right here on the map. What was so sad about the state of Maryland was that the state of Maryland allowed something called slavery. Slavery was a terrible system that allowed people to own other people just like property. In this picture, you can see how horrible this really is. These people are being sold like they're property, but they were people. They were people with amazing value that needed to be respected and shown dignity, but they weren't. Slavery was awful. Sadly, Harriet Tubman was born into slavery. When she was born, she was given the name Araminta, but was nicknamed Minty. Life as a slave was horrible. She worked in the house cleaning and taking care of errands. She was treated dreadfully. She would get beaten a lot, and there were scars that she had for the rest of her life because of the way that she was treated. An example of her terrible treatment, sometimes she would have to look after the baby when the baby slept. If the baby woke up crying, she would get whipped, she would get beaten, and as we said, some of those scars never went away. Then, when she was 12 years old, she was moved to the fields, and things got even worse. It was around this time that she suffered an awful injury. A 2-pound metal weight was thrown at her head, and she was knocked out. She suffered for the rest of her life because of this incident, having seizures. She would just sometimes fall unconscious or fall asleep suddenly. She suffered from headaches. It was such a tragic thing to happen to her. Harriet Tubman knew she had to escape. It was not right for people to own other people. She knew slavery was wrong, and she was willing to do whatever it would take to become free. After a couple of attempts, she escaped north to the city of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, a state that did not allow slavery. It was incredible. She was finally free. Think of how that must have felt. She was finally free from slavery. Now, it was in Philadelphia that she changed her name from Minty to Harriet. Harriet was a special name to her because it was her mother's name. So she was free, and that could have been the end of the story. But that is not the end of the story. This is what's so extraordinary about Harriet Tubman. She wanted to help other people escape too. It wasn't just her freedom that she cared about. She didn't care about her own safety. She wanted to help other people escape. Other people's freedom was just as important to her as her own. So she became a conductor of the Underground Railroad. You might be thinking, what does that mean? What is a conductor? A conductor was a guide of the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was made up of men and women who would help slaves escape. And you could see from this picture these people helping these slaves get to freedom. This was illegal and very dangerous. Conductors or guides of the Underground Railroad would put their own lives at risk, and especially Harriet Tubman, who was a former slave. Every time she helped save people out of slavery, she was putting her own life at risk and was risking becoming a slave again. Harriet Tubman did not use maps to guide people north to freedom. She used the North Star, which is near the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. By looking at the stars, she was able to know what direction to go to help these amazing people finally get free. In all, she helped over 300 slaves escape. Which is why she had the nickname Moses, for leading so many of her people to freedom. In fact, the story of Moses from the Bible was one of her big inspirations for helping save so many people out of slavery. She also fought against slavery by helping the Union Army. During the Civil War, she served both as a nurse and as a spy. For the rest of her life, Harriet Tubman fought for equality, not just for African Americans, but also for women, arguing that women should have the right to vote. She died in 1913, just 7 years before women would get the right to vote. Harriet Tubman was honored with monuments and statues. And a few years ago, it was even announced that Harriet Tubman will be featured on the $20 bill. Her courage and her strength still inspire millions of people today. Harriet Tubman, a former slave who helped free over 300 slaves, and she fought for equal rights for African Americans and women. She was selfless, not being satisfied with just being free herself, but putting her own life in danger, being a conductor of the Underground Railroad and trying to help as many people as possible find freedom. Oh, and did we mention not one person that she helped through the Underground Railroad got lost and did not find freedom? Every single one of them were able to get free because of her help. Not one person was lost. And even when they wanted to turn back and go back to slavery, she encouraged them to keep going. It's amazing. She is so awesome. Thanks for watching this Homeschool Pop video on Harriet Tubman and on her life. We hope you learned a lot of cool things, and we hope that you share them with others because Harriet Tubman's life is so inspirational.